I'm going to show you how to make Europe's most popular street food at home. This is going to bring your shawarma game to the next level.
Big thanks to Napoleon Grills for sponsoring this episode.
Just like with the street food version, I find that making shawarma should be the easiest thing on earth. It should be very tasty, and you should be able to make it very easily, and it should be appealing to all your guests. That's why I have this beautiful piece of meat. This is a beef neck. Now the first thing that we're going to do is slice this up into little pieces. And this is a really large piece of meat, 5 kilograms. Now, of course, we're going to cook this on the rotisserie, and therefore you're going to need some sturdy rotisserie tools. But let's not worry about that yet, because first I'm going to need to slice my way through all of this. First I will be removing some of that silver skin that lays on top. That's not good for anything, so that's got to go. Exposing all of that beautiful meat. The fat cap here, I'm going to slice a little bit of that off, and then let's start slicing. I want my strips to be thin. Oh, look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? I want my slices to be thin, but not too thin. Still need a little bit of body. Can we have a moment of appreciation here for this beautiful beef neck? Insane. You could serve this up as a Wagyu steak as is. The last bit of the beautiful neck I'm going to slice against the shape so that I got a little bit of surface left. And as you can see, these slices, they're not the biggest slices. They fall apart and they're not as thick as you might think. And they're not too thin either. So we got a decent size of slice, because what you want to prevent is that later on, when you start building up that shawarma roll, then you want the meat to have enough grip on the skewer. And that's what we're building up. All done slicing. And now it's time we start working on the marinade. Therefore, I'm going to need about a cup of peanut oil, could be sunflower oil, but it has to be a light cooking oil that can stand up against a lot of heat. For the seasoning, I'll be using the PITMASTERX deli seasoning, and the deli seasoning is super close to what we would call a shawarma seasoning. And of course the recipe is on our website if you want to check it out. It's pitmasterx.com. I'm going to add about 4 tablespoons of the deli seasoning. Then I'm going to close the lid and give it a good shake. And then just pour the marinade on top of the beef. There we go. Get that last bit of seasoning out and start massaging it in until the beef is fully coated in all of the marinade. As you can see, I can cover a lot of meat with only a little bit of marinade, and that's why we need a strong marinade like the deli seasoning. Now I need to get all of that on this skewer. Therefore, I'm going to start by cutting up a large onion. And that's going to be the base of my rotisserie, my shawarma. I'm going to take this and put it on here, which is quite a challenging thing to do without sticking it into your hand. There we go, then the pins go in, and this is now the end of our onion. See how it's dripping? This is going to add flavor too. I'm going to start with a larger slice, stick it in. And just like that, I'm going to gradually build it up. Slice of the end parts and then just keep going until you have no more meat left. And once you got a huge tower like this, you're just going to pop on the other side of the onion. Oh, extra juicy. And secure it. And then all you need to do is put it on the barbecue. There we go, in the rotisserie. Switch it on. And then it starts rotating. But there's a lot of fat in this beef neck. And that fat, that's absolutely perfect because it's going to make the best shawarma ever. However, if I will turn on the burners underneath the shawarma, it will definitely help the heat of the shawarma, but it's also going to burn that fat. And that's why I'm going to use the back burner on my Napoleon grill. Turn on the gas, hit ignition, hoppa. You can hear the gas on the back burner roaring. And what I need out of that is to heat the plate up and that sits in front of it giving me infrared heat. And that infrared heat is going to make the crispiest shawarma on the outside, just like you see in the restaurants. I'm going to remove the grill grates underneath the shawarma and replace it with a tray lined with aluminum foil, so I can catch the drippings from the shawarma. And now all I need to do is close the lid and just let that thing spin until we got a beautiful crust on the outside, which should take no longer than around 30 minutes. Now, of course, you can buy some garlic sauce to put on this shawarma, or you can make some yourself. Just start with a 1/4 cup of mayonnaise. Follow that up with a 1/4 cup of crème fraîche or sour cream. Of course, we gotta have garlic. Now, I'm gonna put in 1 clove of garlic. And the reason that I like to put in only 1 clove is because the garlic will intensify over time. So the longer you let this garlic sauce sit, the more powerful it actually becomes. And the amount of garlic that you put in a garlic sauce is, of course, comes down to natural preferences. Fresh chopped parsley, the juice of half a lemon, a teaspoon of sugar to sweeten things up and balance out the acidity. And then just mix it up and you got yourself one of the best tasting garlic sauces you ever had. And that's just because of the basic rule, if you got a good recipe, then homemade is always better. There we go. Now, of course, I can stop right there and just call it a day. Good barbecue sauce. But the fun thing about making something yourself is you can take it to the next level. You see, I can add a tablespoon of the deli barbecue seasoning, which will make it match really well with the shawarma. And one of my favorite things to add is some chives. It's the same thing that makes herb butter so good. All you need to do is just chop it up, about a tablespoon, maybe 2 if you like it that much. Now, the recipe to the garlic sauce is down below in the video description, so you can make it too, and from there on you can give it your own twist. Delicious garlic sauce. Of course, I do recommend giving it a try after you fiddle with it to see if it's still as delicious as it was before. Oh. And since that is done, let's check. Whoa, that is starting to look good. I like how the shawarma is developing. You can see a little bit of those floppy bits hanging around. We'll solve that once we start slicing into it. But the crust, it just looks so good, so tasty, so yummy. But before I start slicing into it, I'm gonna wait another 10 to 15 minutes. Oh, look at this. This makes me so hungry, and I think it's time we slice into it for the first time. Get that first layer off. I'm just going to take a small tray which I can place underneath, and then with a knife I'm going to slice this off. And the first slice is just for taking the larger pieces off. I'm going to close it up again and then let it continue to roll on, slicing off a little bit every time until I got a nice plate full for at least 4 persons, that I can serve it out to a couple more people than just me taste testing myself. Of course, I want to have some vegetables to go with my shawarma, and I'm going for the classics, which is some lettuce, sliced nice and fine, and of course some tomatoes. Make sure you get them juicy and super flavorful. Of course, we can't forget about the onions. These are sweet Spanish onions and they're delicious. Then I'm gonna place some flatbread underneath the shawarma so it can soak up all the flavors and the juices from the shawarma. And it's these little things that matter the most when you're cooking homemade shawarma. It just makes it more your own, more homemade than any store-bought shawarma. Once the bread is steam warmed, I'm going to build it up with some lettuce, tomatoes, onions, and of course the homemade garlic sauce 2.0. The meat goes on, time to roll it up, pack it in, and give it a try. My shawarma is done. Oh, this tastes so good. If you're looking for the recipe, then go check out PITMASTERX.com.